Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about business of the 21st century. So how many of you have ever been in a conversation with somebody? Whether it's somebody you know that you're best friends with or just overall friends with. Someone you haven't spoken to in a while, maybe even a family member, complete stranger that you happen to see going through your day. And the conversation seems to be going well, you're just having a decent rapport. And then the conversation somehow gets to where they talk about this exciting opportunity they came into. Maybe it's a business they're working on, or maybe they ran into somebody who retired young, or blah, 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 and how it changed their life and how excited they are about it. And either they wanted to keep in touch with you, or wanted to help you become a part of it, or whatever the case may be. This may be what that opportunity is. In this video, we are talking about the opportunity they are talking about with you, potentially. I can't guarantee it is. The common misconceptions that come with this type of opportunity, my personal experiences with it, positive and negative, and whether or not I think it is worth it. And seriously, especially if you're a friend or family member of the person talking to you about this, watch this video until the end. This is going to be very deep and can have some serious damage to your life and the relationship you have with this person if it's not approached with a full understanding and seriousness. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain, is never intended to be legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research, you consult with qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. I also want to be clear that this video is going to be done very differently from my other videos when I'm talking about different gig platforms and different opportunities available to you because of the nature of this particular opportunity. I have had a lot of firsthand experience with this, and I have had a lot of emotions that some I have yet to really work through. And I almost didn't make this video because of that. But because people need to be fully prepared for when they meet people like this, I do want to actually talk about it. So with that said, let's get started. What is Business of the 21st Century? Business of the 21st Century is a book written by Robert Kiyosaki that not only reiterates a lot of what he wrote in his previous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but structures the book around an opportunity which he said was one of the best opportunities to scale and to grow into a B-type business model according to the cash flow quadrants. And in short, a B-type business model is a business with over 500 people. The business model that this book talks about is network marketing or multi-level marketing. Now, before you click out, call me an idiot in the comments section, tell me I'm the worst person on earth, I do want to be clear. Looking back, there were a lot of red flags I was ignoring, and I should have done more research about what I was getting into, which is why I'm making this video in the first place. But the reason why this book is so important to what this business actually entails is the nature of the business model itself and how it has evolved with the people that are currently running this type of operation. But maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Let's answer some of the big questions. What is network marketing or multi-level marketing? Multi-level marketing is a form of private franchising where you can open up your own business, buy and sell products offered by the company in which you are partnering with or contracted with, and you keep the profits from said sales. You also have the ability to sign up other people and do the same thing and make money from the work they are putting in as well. It's kind of like how you can open up a McDonald's and become a franchisee while the franchisor gets a cut of their own. But instead of this being a B-type business model, opening up S-type businesses like a singular McDonald's to the big franchisor, you are starting a B-type business with the potential to become a B-type business. And the term potential implying that you can sign up and literally do nothing with it and sign up nobody if that's what you wanted, but that doesn't make sense based on the nature of the platform. Now, I assume you made the assumption that a lot of people made and said it's a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, and there are a lot of assumptions that other people have made, which is another thing we need to talk about. What network marketing or multi-level marketing is it? Like I said, there's a lot of misconceptions on this type of business model, so let's start from the biggest one. Pyramid scheme. So a lot of people look at how it's drawn out and see how it almost makes a pyramid shape, because you sign up yourself and then you sign up a bunch of people under you and they sign up a bunch of people under them, etc., etc. But let's lay out some facts on the subject. A pyramid scheme, by definition, is a fraudulent and unsustainable investment pitch that relies on promising and unrealistic returns from imaginary investments. This is what Bernie Madoff did. This is where he took a bunch of money claiming he was going to get some kind of return, only to disappear when he was ready to cash out. Some people say that, trying to refer to MLM as a pyramid structured business, not a pyramid scheme, but that's just one connection to make to another. But let's talk about that too, pyramid structure. So this is where somebody describes where you bring on your friends and they bring on their friends. Meanwhile, there's a guy above you and the guy at the top makes all the money. But doesn't that type of business model look an awful lot like this type of business model? Now, to be fair, this isn't the fault of most people. We weren't taught to look at business structures, and we weren't taught to look at the literal people in the business in this type of way. We weren't taught how to do that. Unless you are an angel investor and you're looking to potentially invest, you're not thinking of a business based on the people in it. Most people, when we see a company, we think of the service we receive, the products they offer, maybe an old boss that they used to work for, or some sort of other management that they're getting their first-hand experience with. We aren't looking for the duplicity of the business model. We're not looking at profit margins, recruiting strategy, or really anything else on the business side. We're thinking of what we can get from it as a customer in most cases. But here's the major difference between pyramid structured businesses and MLMs. If you have more people directly sponsored by you, then you will make more money than the people above you. But keep in mind, the more people you directly sponsor, the more people you will have to manage, which means a whole lot more work, but you will make more money, which is not really common for people who are in the normal corporate world. Scam. So a lot of people look at this and think it's a scam as a business model, when in reality, somebody either sold the concept in a scammy way, or they did something they definitely shouldn't have. Some people like to sell the concept as a get-rich-quick scheme, which if it's ever like that, run. They do not have your best interest at heart, and they just want your money. Some people sell the concept as a long-term early retirement plan. Anybody who's ever managed people or led people knows firsthand, as long as you need to manage or lead people, you are not going to retire from that alone. Now, if you took the money and invested it and eventually retire from that, it is possible, but it's really not that simple. Some people think this business is easy for its simplicity. All I gotta do is bring people on, huh? While the work itself may be easy, like actually talking to people, you are literally bringing on people as partners who are probably not as interested in the business as you are, and it is not easy to get the wrong people to do the right thing. And you may need to go through thousands of people just to find a handful of good ones, which is really all you need. But then they also gotta find good ones and lead them properly, and the ones after that, and the ones after that. Some people like to trick you into coming to a meeting by inviting you to some dinner or some talk of some kind, and then present some kind of business opportunity like that, which is really disingenuous. And I understand that people feel tricked and scammed because of that. Hey, this is a really nice dinner, and then bam! They show them the plan. It's honestly kind of gross. Cult. So another thing that these people refer to MLM organizations as is a cult, which by definition in modern English, a cult is a social group that is defined by unusual religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and rituals, or it's a common interest in particular personality, object, or goal. Now, if we see that we are all like-minded people who are interested in creating a new life for ourselves, we almost speak the same language in that way. That's not too far off for a lot of social groups, corporations, communities, and even some fan bases. I'm sure you have heard the phrase cult-like following before. I mean, you could pretty much call Taylor Swift fans, Jeep owners, Apple users all a part of the same cult at that point, but that's also cringy in itself. In fact, most corporations do the same thing. I mean, I'm sure you have heard the phrase, "we are like a family here," from a boss more than once, because they're trying to introduce a certain type of culture into the environment from the moment you were hired. What these MLM groups are doing isn't too far off from that kind of culture building to begin with, hence the term culture. Oh, wait a minute. All they talk about is products. Another thing that people think about these groups is that all they do is sit around and talk about how great these products are, or whatever. And while some may do this and they genuinely like the product, it's really not the sole focus in most cases. Speaking for the group that I was a part of, they talked a lot about leadership development, growing teams, and personal development. Now, a lot of this stuff was generalized for the most part, and specifics on each person was either done through personalized coaching and subliminal messaging, but that's not the point. In most cases, you're going to talk about products once when you initially get started, just so you have an understanding on the website, availability, and then there's going to be a bit more talk when new products come out, which is expected for any business that involves product sales. But overall, that's really it. But what does the book have to do with the business model? People have grown this business model with this book and started a new way to present this type of opportunity. They utilize a 7-step interviewing concept, so people have to earn a spot on the team instead of actually telling you everything up front. They teach the model to you in parts. This way you can actually learn about the business model's deeper intricacies without feeling overwhelmed by the presentations in one sitting. The 7 steps are as follows. Meet and greet. This is where you meet each other, you get to know one another on the premise that they want to get to know you first before moving too far, you know? He will have 5 questions for you that seem like obvious answers, but are actually setting the framework for the meetings themselves, and will likely give them to you in some sort of personal story form. Are you outcome focused or process orientated? If you had to do something you hated for 5 years, and by the end of it, you will have a 6-figure passive income, would you do it? Now, you're going to notice that some of the questions are going to come across as, well, duh, of course I would say that I would want that. And their argument is like, that's what you say, but it's not how you actually are. Or a lot of people say that, but they don't actually follow through with it. Whatever. And they're going to bring that point up as well. Who do you currently take advice from? This question is meant to help you understand that people you are currently listening to are showing you that they will not lead you to the life you want because they do not have the experience or knowledge to help you achieve that lifestyle. This also works to help build a wall between your family and your friends emotionally, almost to isolate you from outside opinions. Are you open to mentorship or coaching? This seems like a lot like the last question, but it accomplishes a different purpose. Now, they're going to frame this in such a way that will make it sound like they will need to be the only voice you listen to, which is not only frightening, but this will frame things in such a way to where if you come to them with other opinions, they will just walk away. Now, you might counter my point with, but that is actually good advice, but saying the right advice for the wrong reasons is malicious behavior. Are you familiar with network marketing or multi-level marketing? Some people are going to say no, some people will bring up a company, and some people will bring up their experiences with network marketing or multi-level marketing as a whole. But after you say your piece, they will bring up how they're different from them and they don't operate in the same way they do. So if you will be able to work together, you will need to unlearn what you knew about MLM and relearn it so that way you could potentially be successful together. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your life? He's gonna give you a rating for his life, almost like a foundational basis. And it's almost gonna be like he's gonna force you to mark yourself lower than they are now, or around the same point. After that, they're gonna ask you to read the book, Business of the 21st Century. By the next time you meet with them, they will hand you a copy. They will also tell you how they took notes and highlighted them, and how they learned more from that book than in most finance classes, etc., etc. So yeah, you're expected to have the same enthusiasm. Their logic is that if you cannot read a book by the time you sit down, being 5 to 7 days from this meeting, you won't be able to build a business. And yes, they will disqualify you for that. Meet and greet too. So by the time you arrive, you will probably chat and then talk about what you've learned. He will ask questions to make sure you learned a lot. Then they will show you a slideshow on their phone or their tablet or computer, depending explaining what they have on them. They will ask you about the cash flow quadrants. They will go deeper into the concept of franchising. Then go over what it looks like for you as a team member over time, even though you haven't even been told a company name yet. Group Evaluation 1. This is where someone who has reached a high level within that particular business will talk about their story and go through a slideshow. This time, they will introduce a few different company names. They will introduce the product line. The one I worked with was Amway. They will introduce an education system. The one I worked with was BWW, but the people that I used to work with specifically broke off of BWW and became CYL, which is Customize Your Life. Then they will explain the rest of the round table. How they have an accountant, a pastoral counseling group, which is really corrupt, but more on that later. Their budgeting program, an investing firm, and a few other things as well. Then they will explain that they are not dependent on the product line or the education system because the true power was in the network itself, which is true for them. For you, you'll have to build your own team first. After the meeting, you will be sent podcasts and another book for you to read about becoming a prosumer. They changed the book a couple times. Follow-up 1. This is where they will explain what the work is going to look like for you, assuming that you follow through on the work that you need to do and what that work is going to look like. This is highly exaggerated and also depends on the outside party's ability to follow through on their own, which is harder to find the right people than it looks. In fact, the first thing that people think is, oh, I just need to find 20 people who will do the work. I know a lot of people like that. This will be easy. And then reality smacks them straight in the face, and a lot of their friends and family will either laugh at them, say nothing, sign up, and quit. But maybe a couple people will follow through. And then you need to find 18 random strangers, which isn't bad, but is a high expectation you are placing upon people. Group Evaluation 2 is literally the same thing as Group Evaluation 1, except you get another book after called The Compound Effect. That's actually a really great book, and I highly recommend that. Follow-up 2. At this point, this is where they talk about the buy-in cost and how it is so much less than other business models, which is true, but at the same time, it brings up your cost of living because now you're not buying from CVS to get your toothpaste. You're getting their toothpaste as well as other products. You'll also need to attend events monthly, go to conferences quarterly, pay for a monthly podcast service, and then you are given a night to think about the opportunity itself. Whether or not you've moved forward is up to you. My experience. So I was involved in this business in 2016 and worked on it for 4 years. I worked 5 times harder than anybody in the organization, with the exception of maybe 2 people. The people above me were somebody that I referred to as my best friend at the time, which because my self-image was so low before this business, I thought I wasn't going to do much better than him in terms of friendship. He was revered as somebody who was pumping out over $2,000 worth of sales in a month. Meanwhile, he was just using his mom to sell to her local church. Above him was Matt and Megan, where Matt being one of the most abusive and insecure people I have ever met. In fact, his pastoral counselor, Bill, actually had published in his newsletter that he was an egomaniac with sociopathic tendencies and an inferiority complex. He was a master at gaslighting and manipulation and did everything in their power to maintain their image rather than tell the truth and to do the right thing by people. He always had an undying need to take credit for my work, put down people who outshined him in any way, and sabotage you if at all possible. Megan was as two-faced as they come and turns out was not too different from him. Above them, Anthony and Callan, Anthony actually changed his last name because he came from a background of a criminal legacy and it showed. Master at gaslighting and sea lioning. Sea lioning is a form of manipulation where he would make it sound like he never knew what was happening and needed proof, and when you provided that proof, he claimed to never understand it. Kind of like how somebody goes into the comments section just to hate on you for the sake of hating, and even though you showed them exactly why they're wrong, they still will insist that you're wrong. What the heck is that? He believes in using God and Christian values as a weapon to justify poor behavior was okay because they're your upline, which is somebody who you would treat as above you, which isn't too surprising if you know who he is as a person, but me being naive and having a low self-image was okay with that for some reason. He also had a tendency of giving you just enough enough information to make himself sound good instead of doing the right thing. Typical legacy psychopath. Callan is one of the most two-faced people there is because she will claim her justification for anything is that you don't understand the consequences of what you're doing. Meanwhile, she not only knows what she is saying is wrong, she literally does the same thing that she's getting mad at you for. But that's okay because she is your upline. And above them, Tony and Francis. I didn't have a lot of problems with them until the end of my career in that organization. Tony was similar to Anthony, just gave enough information to make themselves look good, but in reality wasn't as good-spirited as he claimed to be. He was also the son of Vinny and Dana, who sponsored him and who are legacies in the organization and grew up in the organization as a whole. Francis, who married into a successful corporation, made herself sound like she had the best interest for the organization when her actions showed otherwise. But if you thought that was the worst of it so far, just you wait. One of the things I noticed during my last year in the business is that my friend was doing things with the ladies of the organization, which was, let's say, not welcome for the sake of legal purposes. Meanwhile, the organization prided themselves on being a safe place for women. He was suspended for that for 3 months, which, if this was handled properly, he should be in jail. But they didn't want that out there, and also $2,000 worth of sales for one person was a lot, so they covered it up. But because I knew and I didn't like how they treated that, I took it up with Tony, where he led me to believe that he was going to do the right thing, but let it go in the long term, which actually wasn't his fault. He ended up getting diagnosed with cancer shortly after and left for Arizona for some European cancer treatments, so that way it doesn't do damage to his body like American treatments do. Literally the day after he left, Anthony, Callan, Matt, and Megan, and my friend threw me out of the organization, saying we can't have you going around telling people that we don't have integrity, and literally told the team that I spent a lot of time working with that they're gonna work with them now, which isn't the same as firing me because I am in business for myself. They can't take my business, but because they provided me with all of the resources that I would need to actually grow my business, and they took my team, I'm SOL. They later threw a lawyer at me, David Antwork or some crap, and tried to make me sign something to keep me quiet, which I didn't sign, and I wasn't gonna be quiet about it. Wait, why didn't you go to the police with this or sue them or something like that? Well, it wasn't like they didn't have police officers in their pockets. In fact, Anthony has a podcast where he was actually interviewing some of them. And by the way, that podcast is actually full of reviews just from the people who are on his team. And as for why I couldn't sue, because I never had a paper trail. So even if I did sue them, I probably wouldn't win. Or if I did win, it probably wouldn't be for much anyway. They don't even provide receipts for purchases. Everything was for Zelle or Venmo. I told them that I was not willing to communicate with them anymore. And if they were going to reach out to me at this point, it would be considered as harassment and I would file as such. I didn't quit on the organization. I didn't quit building the business. I was thrown out, which happened just before I was about to double my width and depth in the organization and have the means to grow into my own business outside of them, but that's not the point of this. Benefits I got from this business. Honestly, I can't say I didn't get anything out of this. There were some positives that I experienced. I built up my self-image. I proved to myself that I can build and commit to a business if I put my mind to it. I was an awkward guy who couldn't talk to girls and I was scared to meet people, and I was able to move past that. I had serious boundary issues as well. I'm sure you could tell from the story I told, as well as some serious insecurities about my mental illnesses. But because I was able to keep working on myself, I was able to stand up for myself long term. I met some really great people, not my upline, but my cross line and some of the people that I brought on. And some of the people I was bringing through the process to potentially sign up, some of them were really cool and I was really happy to meet them. For a long period of time, I thought that I was going to have to accept how I was unable to make friends and accept what was dealt to me. But instead, I was able to put myself out there and meet some great people. I learned a lot of valuable skills that I still use today: communication, marketing, networking, leadership, leadership without overbearing management, culture building, selling without it being awkward or forceful like some used car salesman. Now you could say I've learned these things in other ways, but it's not like I was doing this because I knew what to look for, and it wasn't like I was actively looking for those skills. I was forced to learn them because of my situation, and honestly, I can't imagine me back then being able to push through that without the external push. You know what I'm saying? The products are something that I used for a long time, even after I left the organization, because I just genuinely liked them. What, am I gonna deprive myself from the products because my upline was mean to me? They had soaps and shampoos that I would use for myself. They had the only energy drink that didn't make me feel weird after drinking it at the time. They had multivitamins that I liked and have been helping me stay focused, lose weight, and get quality sleep. That being said, I have no plans to introduce those products or sell you those products via the channel. My contracted with that company ended a long time ago, and I couldn't get them anymore without signing up with them again, and honestly, I don't think that it's worth my time. Not to mention it actually would break the terms of service with that network marketing company because they expect you to have more of a personal relationship rather than just putting some sort of thing online. Regrets. There are a handful of regrets that I have on this subject. I should have left the business in my third year so I could start a new opportunity. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank says, one of entrepreneurs' biggest weaknesses is their ability to let go of a business. It's hard to look at something that you've been working on for years and saying that you failed and put it down. Especially when the organization I worked with almost made it seem like you were shamed for quitting. The reality is that you only have so many working years in your life, so you need to find something that is going to work with you and grow that. But if it takes too long for you to profit, you can't move on to the next business or the next opportunity. This struck me because one of my biggest fears I had in this business is that I was working my butt off and I wanted it to bear fruit even if it wasn't bearing fruit. Not acknowledging red flags sooner. So some of the red flags I should have seen off the bat, but I was young and I didn't have the self-image to defend myself back then as I do now, being the people pleaser that I was. I also tended to justify their poor decisions with excuses that I made up in my mind. Oh, it's just their personality. Oh, that's because of their position they're in. Oh, they are just having a rough day. Let it be. Meanwhile, they are just horrible people with narcissistic personalities, complexes, and abusive tendencies, so that wasn't any of my excuses for them. It was just who they were as people. Remember, when people tell you or show you who they are, believe them. Should you be involved in network marketing or multi-level marketing? Now, some of you heard my story and thought it sounded like a turnoff, and I would never want that to happen to me, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. It means the people that I worked with had it out for me and just treated me like dog crap. That said, however, that doesn't mean you should either. But instead of me telling you whether you should or shouldn't do it, let's walk through some questions that will help you decide on your own whether or not it is worth it for you as a person. Can you 100% trust the people you are working with? If the answer is no, or you hesitated at all when that question was asked, then the answer is no. Doesn't matter how hard you work. If you can't trust the people you are working with, it will only end up hurting you long term. Are you willing to do what it takes to make it work? Regardless of time frames, skill set, and what your best is versus what you need to do to make it work, are you willing to do it no matter what? Again, no or hesitation. Don't. What are you looking for in this business? Some people just do it for the money, the cause that they're talking about, or they just want the overall freedom that they keep talking about. First of all, don't expect freedom realistically. Anyone who has ever managed people knows how hard it is and how you can never truly step away. Second, are you sure you can actually achieve those things? Some people are doing this so that way they can get away from the corporate environment, but I don't know if you can tell from my story. Narcissistic leadership, manipulative marketing and communication, questionable legal practices, people saying things one way and doing it another. Realistically, it's just another corporate America. Like, we need to acknowledge that the challenges that we have in corporate America are really from any company. You can find a lot of organizations and communities that work in the same way, not just the workplace. The point is, you need to really think about what you're actually looking for before you decide if you want to go down this path. finally, are you sure there aren't other ways to achieve the same things you're looking for? Because I'll tell you what, I've achieved more on YouTube in the short time frame that I've been on this platform than I've ever achieved in MLM in 4 years, and I'm not even relevant yet. Seriously, if you're looking for a long-term plan, you actually might want to think about starting with YouTube or social media marketing before something like this. Is the product line consumable and valuable to you? Look, one of the things that this business has you do is convert your own spending habits from products that don't pay you to products that do, which is not bad, and I do like the product line, like I said, but if you don't find value in the products, you will not only have a hard time selling them, you will probably have a problem being part of the community. While this may not be a focus point of the community, it is a vital source of your income. If you don't, you might want to seek out a different community of the same type, something you would prefer to be a part of. Just don't get too dead set on it because the value is in the leadership, not the products. Are you willing to commit 3 to 5 years for a chance at getting the results you want? Because if you listen to their teachings, you will have the skills you need, but you need to have the people following you. Final points. If you are someone who is like a friend of someone who introduced this to you, and you are probably not turned on by this opportunity, or you think, man, if they just saw this video, they would see the light and they wouldn't waste their time and money in this way. I hear your logic, but that's not going to work. One of the things that this company is really good at is actually setting you up to take what they hear from your friends and family and weaponize success principles to justify their poor behavior. That's what it takes to succeed. Don't listen to people who have never succeeded at what we do. Who do you take advice from? Saying the right advice for the wrong reasons is a malicious behavior, by the way. But either way, the best thing you can do is be as supportive as possible for your friends. And if they don't succeed and leave after a period of time, don't give them the I told you so treatment or give them a hard time, because you really don't know what happened to them or what drove them to leave to begin with, whether it was their choice or not. Most people have a hard time opening up these days simply because of the feelings of their experiences and their emotions used against them. Just be as supportive to them as possible without judgment, because it is hard to return to friends and family saying that you failed. Heck, it was extremely hard making a YouTube video about this because of my emotions on the subject. And to the people that are about to attack my comment section saying that I have no idea what I'm talking about, you're free to feel however you like. I am simply speaking to the experiences that I had. Whether you like or dislike what I'm saying is not relevant. But either way, this is also not a recruiting ground, so don't go trying to recruit my people in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!